I was never really a fan of apple pie until I started making it at home. Flavorful apple pie filling paired with a buttery homemade rough puff pastry. Let's start with the apple pie filling. Peel, core, and slice your apples to a bowl. Add your sliced apples, brown sugar, flour, and spices and mix them well. The sugar adds flavor to the filling as well as releases the liquid from the apples. The flour acts as a thickener. We will then cut this filling to make sure all of the liquid comes out from the apples and that they thicken fully. Doing this will stop the pastry from getting soggy at the bottom. Gently and continuously stir the filling until the apples soften but aren't mushy and the liquid looks like a very thick syrup. Let's work on our rough puff pastry. Take it away, Erica, from the past. Rough puff pastry is a shortcut, in my opinion, to puff pastry. To make the puff pastry, we will combine all of our dry ingredients, the flour, sugar, and salt. Following this, we add the cold cubed butter. The butter must be cold, but you don't want it to be hard. You won't be able to incorporate it into your flour. You want the butter to be cold but squeezable. That's ideal. To get thin layers of butter, I take a cube and press it between my thumb and index finger. I like to say the shape will be similar to cornflakes. In this case, you want larger pieces of butter. With the larger pieces of butter in the dough, when laminated and rolled, it gives the illusion of puff pastry. With any pastry method, the most important rule is cold ingredients. After breaking down the butter, I like to place the entire bowl of the mixture into the freezer until that butter is hard again. After the butter has firmed up, we will add a tablespoon amounts of cold water. Ice water is another key ingredient to keep the dough cold for as long as possible. Adding tablespoon amounts of water is vital to not adding too much water. Adding a tablespoon amount and tossing with the spoon after. You'll know you need to soon stop adding water when the dough starts to clump together. I like to bring the dough together as much as possible, and if there is any dry dough, sprinkle a little water to bring it together. It's also important to not overmix or knead the dough like bread. Your hands can carry heat which can soften the butter, so you'll be using your fingers only as much as needed, just so that you can bring the dough together. Onto a sheet of plastic wrap, we will place our dough and quickly create more layers. By doing a quick lamination, using a rolling pin, gently flatten the dough. Using a bench scraper, cut it into 4 and stack those pieces on top of each other. Flatten the dough again and wrap it in the plastic wrap and store it in the fridge overnight or until that dough and that butter is very cold. Thanks, Erica. Now that we have our pastry, divide that dough in half. One half will be for the base and the other half for the lattice. For the base, roll the dough out on a lightly floured surface until 1/8 of an inch thick. You don't want the pastry to be too thick because it won't cook properly. Roll the pastry out to be wider than the pie plate you'll be using. To transfer the dough from the surface to the plate, fold it in 4 and place the point in the center of the plate and unfold. Now here is a mistake many bakers make that causes their pastry to shrink. You don't want to stretch this dough. Never stretch the dough to fit the plate or whatever vessel you're using. I like to lift and push down into the plate. Let it fall into the plate or vessel naturally. Take your time with this step. You don't want to stretch that pastry. If you feel that your dough has gotten too soft, place it in the fridge to chill. Remove the filling and the base dough from the fridge. Dock the pastry, which is just pricking it with a fork to make sure it has holes so that steam can be released, and pour that cold filling into the center of the dough and spread it out evenly. For the lattice, roll the dough out in the same way you did the base, but this time you cut it into 10 1-inch size strips. The strips should be longer than the plate, meaning the strips should hang over the sides and not fall short. For the lattice strips, the best way to understand how to lay them is to watch the video. But what you'll do is place 5 strips onto the pie. Fold the second and fourth strip upwards. Place another strip over the first, third, and fifth strip. Bring the folded strips over that new strip. For the next round, fold the first, third, and fifth strip upwards and place a new strip over the second and fourth strip. Bring the 3 strips back down onto this new strip and repeat the first step again. Lift 2 and 4, place a new strip, bring them back over the new strip. You now have 3 new strips on this half of the pie. I keep saying strips, I'm sorry. Repeat these steps on the other half of the pie and you should have used a total of 10 strips. Trim the excess pastry hanging around the edge, leaving 1 inch of dough. Tuck that dough under itself and crimp that dough using your thumb, index finger and pointer finger. I use my index finger as the main finger. The decoration came out looking a bit pointy, so I wanted it a bit more rounded, so I'd recommend using your thumb to really get that crimp. When you're done crimping, place this dough back into the freezer until it's firm. After it's firm, brush it with egg wash and bake it at 385 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 to 45 minutes or until that pastry at the bottom is lightly golden brown and cooked all the way through. If the edges start to get too brown, cover it with some foil and let the remaining lattice get nice and golden brown. And here we have our gorgeous apple pie. If you want something fancy to pair it with other than ice cream, let me show you how to make a caramel crème anglaise. To a bowl, add your egg yolks and half the sugar, whisk until pale. To a pan, add the other half of the sugar and melt until it reaches an amber color. To this, add your warmed milk and cream. Be very careful, it may release a lot of steam. It may clump as well, but gently heat it over a low flame, stirring constantly until that sugar has melted into the milk. To the eggs and sugar, slowly stream in 1/4 of the hot caramel milk into the eggs, whisking constantly. This is what we call tempering the egg yolks. Slowly add the remaining milk, whisking constantly. When it's all combined, add it back to the pan and cook over a low flame until it's thickened to the nappe stage. This is when the mixture coats the back of a spoon, and when you place your finger through it, it separates without coming back together. Strain this hot mixture into a bowl over an ice bath and cool it. And now you have your caramel crème anglaise. Now that you have all of your components, you can slice your apple pie and serve it with your sauce. This recipe was made for a brand for UGC content, but I repurposed it and decided to show you how I created it. I love making apple pie at home because I can guarantee that it will have a flavor. Many places use canned pie filling, which has very little taste, and unsweetened dough, which my taste buds hate. I lightly sweeten the dough so it's not bland, and I flavor the filling with warm spices to make it pop. If you like filled pastries, check out my Bajan jam puff recipe. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!